Ladies and gentlemen, this evening I'm sitting down with an artist who is another talented individual in that C3 anthology that we're talking about. Of course, I'm talking about Fennek. Fennek, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you this evening?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to chatting with you because the whole topic, the whole kind of central theme for Hidden Histories, which is the new C3 anthology, is this idea about learning something. And last year, when we did this for a different anthology, you taught me about KVs, correct?
Indeed, yeah. Like last year, I kind of almost used up my topic of informational by talking about KVs or guinea pigs.
Well, so I'm excited to know what am I going to learn about this time around talking to you. I think that you have a very interesting uh, topic, even though I think maybe some people might, I don't know, they may look at it and say, but this is something that you like, you're cheating a little bit because it's what you do with your prized time and or excuse me, your prized opportunity to work on some comics. So let's go ahead and let's just let the folks know, what is your topic for this year?
Absolutely, yeah. So I decided to go into um, kind of making a comic almost. So I went about like the approach of how hard the world can be on artists and even how much harder we can be on ourselves as artists to create. So I wanted to make something where I'm kind of talking about my own artistic journey a little bit, where I'm talking about what I'm starting to do to make myself want to draw more and to create more and not be as afraid as I have been. Mine actually ends up going into Sarah's comic about how to write comics, so I won't go too far into that. But mine, I think, is kind of more of the emotional side and the effort that goes into making a comic and the kind of mental stuff that you go through, and almost informational as in what I need to do for me, what may help other people. But if I only help one person and that person's myself, I hope that I accomplish that with my comic.
Okay, and you got a great name for your part of the presentation. And I'm going to say that because, as you mentioned yourself and kind of Sarah Cook, you kind of are teaming up, so to speak. Not officially, but kind of teaming up with this topic, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, your particular part of the tale is called "You, Yes, You Need to Create," which I thought was a very clever title for a comic.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I felt like it's almost like addressing myself as I'm creating and like kind of look into the mirror and say it to yourself, but also I want other people to create. I think that creating is just a wonderful way to express yourself. I've talked to many people, and like as they've gotten older, they've just kind of gone to art as something they do for fun for themselves. And I think that being able to express ourselves is something that's beautifully human of us and something that's amazing. Like I even taught a class kind of about this comic to some younger kids, and like even at that age, like they were very insecure about their art. They were talking about like they didn't have enough time to like complete something. They didn't like they didn't do XYZ. They don't have the skills to do this. And it's like, you just need to create. Like you don't need to do anything else. Like that is the only thing that I'm asking of myself in this, and that I'm hoping to ask the audience in this.
So I guess you could say that um, we all have that internal monologue in our head, right? That
Oh,
tells us,
absolutely.
yeah, that tells us, oh, you can't do this, or it's too hard, or whatever the excuse is.
Mhm.
Without giving away too much from your own story in the anthology, how do you overcome that hurdle?
Yeah, it's really hard. And honestly, it's just kind of trial and error. Like for me, I found like just giving myself very low stakes to do stuff where it's, hey, like even if like I don't make like a full page, like it is great that I like sketched something today. It's great that I took a little like post-it note and I like made a little dude on that. Like that is already wonderful. I know like for me, like I'm kind of like trying to make myself like do a reward system. Like I have ADHD and I'm very much like, hey, just get the reward now. Like I'm smart. I can go and get it. And I'm like trying to force myself, like, no, I need to do that schedule kind of thing. But I think like for me, it's kind of showing like there is a struggle in that. I struggle with it a ton. Like I've been creative for a very, very long time. I went to school for it, and it's still something that's very difficult.
Do you think that? society puts pressure, or society has a viewpoint about being creative that maybe also continues to hinder people?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of pressure that you need to create something that's wonderful. Like social media, people post their best stuff. And I'm not saying not to post like what your best is, but I think like a lot of like new artists or even ones that are experimenting, like they'll see that, they'll compare themselves to it. I think with some of the rise of AI art, like there's a lot of people that are just like, I'm just going to do that instead of like put effort into what they want to do and like learn the craft. I think that we have like a very time crunch society where if you're not good at something, you might as well just abandon it. Like you need to be able to monetize what you do. You need to grind. You need to do all this stuff when really art is something that's meant to be just fun, relaxing, enjoyable, to help you like make sense of the world, to make sense of what's going on inside yourself. I think such a tragic thing that it's that we're at like a point in society, I think, that we feel the need to be great because we need to show off to everybody when being creative, I think, is something that's so much more internal than I think a lot of people give it credit for, and is something that is therapeutic when they just see like the end result. Like it's a like creativity is a journey. Like it's a journey to create something. It's a journey to go from like getting out of bed, standing up and going to a workspace to create. It is a journey from the very first stroke that you make with your pencil all the way to the inking stages and coloring. I think that it's a journey and no one sees that journey anymore because we're so focused on the end product and we're so focused on having a result. Like AI art, I think like it just shows that end product. There's no process that is worked at inside ourselves. There's nothing like that. I think that it's tragic because I want us to be able to express ourselves more fully. I want us to make sense of the world in this way. And I know I struggle with, I need to make something that's perfect, and I'll get frustrated if I don't make something that isn't what I see on social media. I'll like get in my head about like that journey being really, really hard, but it's also very, very worthwhile.
And I shook my head many times while we were discussing your thoughts, because it rings true for me as well. You know, because I've had this podcast for a very long time. People think, well, why aren't you making like tons of money? Well, because that's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've tried. I've tried.
Yeah.
But at this point now, I've been doing it long enough where I want to do it just for the sheer art of it. And so everything that you said, and I just, for those folks who are watching or listening to this, you know, there's tons of different types of art out there, whether you're talking about drawing or sculpting or film or dance or podcasting or whatever. But we all still have that same hurdles. We all have those same hurdles to overcome, no matter what the genre is.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up like how many different forms of art there are. Like I talk about comics in mine because that's my specific journey, but your journey is also so worthwhile. And I hope it almost touches it to some other people that do have their own creative journeys that they go on because it is like just a struggle for everybody where there's just like pure joy and like creativity and just doing something and just going out and making something because that's one more thing that you made like a couple minutes ago than you made yesterday. Like it's just beautiful to make whatever you want. Like podcasts, I think that's an awesome and wonderful art form. I think just anything. And I hope that people do continue pursuing what they want to. And I hope that my comic helps inspire just a little bit of it to show, hey, just do the bare minimum sometimes. And maybe the bare minimum, it'll lead you to going further and further with what you do. But if you only do the bare minimum, like that's all you can give. And if that's all you can give, that's already 100% of your effort. And that's something to be proud of.
So let's clue in myself and some of the listeners and watchers as well. How much collaboration did you have with Sarah? Was it a real strong collaborative spirit, or was it like, hey, I'm going to do this, you said you were going to do that, and we'll just kind of meet somewhere in the middle? Like, what was the process for working with Sarah?
It was very much just kind of a very chill, kind of like not quite Easter egg, but almost Easter egg, where like mine leads right into her comic and where she's picking up kind of where I left off, where I'm kind of okay, like I have the motivation to do this. now what do I do? And she picks it up kind of from there and like makes some references to my comic at the very beginning. And that's really, really fun. Like I go on like a tangent about something at the very, very end. And like throughout her comic, she like picks up on that. I'll leave that as a spoiler for people to read the anthology because it is a very funny joke, I think. And I'm very glad she did it. But yeah, like it was very just kind of more relaxed. It was like I told her what my message was going to be. She said her message. And from there, we decided like at the end is kind of like doing like the track relay where I'm like passing off the baton to her and she picks it up like, very wonderfully.
It's a good analogy. I like that analogy.
Thank you.
Well, let's and this might be a difficult question because obviously you already had something in mind for your particular subject for your entry. But what if you couldn't have done the topic that you chose? What if it was just like somebody else had already taken it and you didn't want to be, copying them, so to speak? Did you have a backup? Did you have a plan B?
Oh, I feel like I did. I'm already forgetting what it was. Just I fell so hard into this subject that I did. Trying to think of what my other one would have been. Like I can't even remember the topic. I just got so into this one. Like the project itself ended up being a journey for me because I got a new diagnosis of something that both like really hurt, but also started making a lot of sense in my creative journey. And I was wrestling with a lot of that while I was making it. Um, yeah, especially with the sea theme, I almost kind of think I would have gone back to like guinea pigs and just been like KE2, like Electric Boogaloo.
Well, you know what? Right now, before we talk a little bit more, Fennek, about some other projects that you have going on and whatnot, I think it's a good spot to let folks know about the crowdfunder. The crowdfunder, as I've been talking to all these wonderful creators, they all say the same thing, that this is unusual, it's a unique way to get funding for a project. And crowdfunder is the option that we're using here. And look, it's got different tiers. And for each tier, there will be a page rate that will go along and it will go back to the creators, folks. And look, Fennek, I'm sure you're going to say exactly what I think you're going to say. Is it expensive to be creative?
Not at all. I taught that class the other day and I gave everyone pieces of note paper and pencils and I said, you can do a ton with this. And at that, like when I was growing up, I would always draw on the margins of homework. Like I would turn in pieces and like I would have like half drawn comics on them and I'd get it back from the teacher with like my like 7 out of 10 score and I'd keep drawing on it after the fact. And it's just, you can do just anything and just have that internal experience. And even like, I think like a lot of even great artists, I've seen like wonderful work done just in like MS Paint even that you can just have for free on your computer. I've seen people where they just use like a Sharpie as opposed to some like an ink pen or something. There is so much that can be done with so little.
All right, but sometimes though you do have to plunk down some cash. I know sometimes markers run out, sometimes tabling fees at conventions pop up, and that's, folks, where we're going to need your help. If you can donate, we would love to have you do that, please. And you can pick up a cool anthology as well. Let me just give you the breakdown here. We would love to hit $2,000. All right, and we would love to have that as our top tier. That would give every creator $25 on the page rate. And then if maybe we don't reach 2,000, maybe $16.75, that gives every creator $20. $13.50, $15, $1,050, $10. But look, we want to shoot for the top. All right, we want to shoot to the very top. We want to get that $2,000 mark, and you can help us do that. Just go over to C3, which stands for the Columbus Cartoon Coalition. Go over to their social media. That's where all the information is, where you can pick up one of the anthologies. I believe there's a URL that's posted over there. Click on it. Get yourself a cool anthology. I've been talking to so many people and learning so much stuff. And that's not me just, blowing smoke. That's truly what I learned about birds. I've learned about bears. I've learned about making comics. I've learned about historical people like Margaret Armstrong. So you definitely will learn something, and you'll have a lot of fun reading this anthology. So do it, please, 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 please. Don't worry, I'm going to badger you again. That's right. And
All
I'm
right.
going to badger you at the end of the episode too, folks. So no, I'm just kidding on that. But so, Fennek, let's talk a little bit about yourself. I assume that you were always a creative individual, or maybe a creative kid, always, as you said, drawing on the margins of your homework and whatnot.
Oh, absolutely. I remember at a young age, like I was drawing like pretty much it was early on, like Scooby Doo fan fiction for my like kindergarten class. So like I would draw like all the illustrations and read them stories and stuff, and my teacher let me, and it was just a very like fun and wonderful experience. And ever since then, I think I've just had that kind of passion towards following that.
Now, you even said that you went to college and you got a degree. You got a master's degree, right, in comics, correct?
Indeed, I did. I went to Wittenberg University and I got an English major as well as a creative writing minor. And that was actually where I met a professor who got me into comics originally. It was very, very fun learning about that. And like, I was always very passionate about comics, and hearing that it could be like something that could be studied, something that's an academic medium, that was wonderful and exciting for me. Not to mention, like, being able to create comics as well. Like, I did like creative writing classes and I would make comics in some of those classes. That was awesome. And I just decided that was my passion from there. Like, I even remember my very first comic I made. Like, we had the writer's workshop. I was just sitting around, and I remember like getting excited because I wanted to know how I could improve. And everyone just kind of, it was a comic about a girl who finds a cat and decides to take her into her dorm, and like how like she could keep it and stuff. And I remember like everyone just started talking about their pets and like how they met their pets and all that. And I was like, are you going to talk about my comic at all? And the professor told me like it was just so like relatable to a lot of people, and just like there really wasn't much to critique, and so people just really started gravitating towards their own stories and relating to it. And I found that fascinating with comics, where people can put their experiences into what they're reading, put themselves into characters that they see on the page. Like, that was just fascinating to me, and so I just had to continue pursuing it, and it has been wonderful.
Excellent. Because I was going to ask if you would you ever consider like doing a PhD in comics or something along those lines? Would you ever consider that?
Honestly, I would really love to. Like, I have like all this back here around me. Like, I have been so like into just like reading literature, books, just any kind, like over like the like years and years and years, and just being able to throw myself fully into that. I think that would be so rewarding.
Okay. Okay. I just, from my own personal experience, once I got my master's degree, I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. I've had enough.
Very fair.
I'm,
It's
I'm good.
intense.
Yeah. My wife has a PhD, and I'm like, God bless you, because I don't know. I would never be able to do that drag. I mean, it was enough to just get that master's degree. So, but so let's
Absolutely. I'm even considering like a master's of library and information sciences now, and I'm like, you know what? Just why not?
yeah. Well, let's talk about some of your other projects. One that I saw on your Instagram, and I don't know, it may not be a current project, it may be in the past, but it made me chuckle. I believe it's called Side Eye Animals.
Yeah. I've been making some stickers of like pets that I've owned in the past, or with some of my friends' animals, where just like have like sticker series of like animals like giving the side eye, because some animals could really give a really wicked side eye. Like my guinea pigs growing up, like my first two that I have, there was one that was intensely side eye. The other one, like I have one currently, he gives like a really great side eye. My Westie, he recently passed away, so like I have to add him to the series because he was like the master of side eye, and that was really fun. Like I even based it off of like another picture that I had of him where he had like a little bit of it. Not he wasn't snarling, but he had a little like he would kind of show his little lip a little bit, like, kind of, and that was really fun. Just I don't know, like there's just something about like I've always loved drawing animals. That's always been a very big passion of mine. I love animals, but just with them, it's just I just love looking at like their little personality showing through, the little sass that they can give sometimes. Like anything from like your like a pet dog to a little guinea pig can be sassy.
Okay. All right. It made me chuckle, and I'm like, that's pretty good because, yeah, I imagine that there are some animals that certainly could throw you some shade. So now the other thing that I saw on your Instagram, which by the way, it's art by Fennek, by the way, is the handle there for those folks listening and watching. And I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce it right, but you had kind of a art piece dealing with something called aphantasia.
Fantasia, yeah.
Could you explain maybe to the listeners or the viewers what that is?
Yeah, so aphantasia is basically you if you were to close your eyes right now and I told you to picture an apple, there are a lot of people that would be able to see an apple within their mind at kind of varying levels of clarity. Some can like visualize everything from there being bruises on the apple to like all the speckles on there and like the color gradients. Some people can maybe picture like a regular apple, maybe not as clearly as the first one. I cannot see anything at all in my brain. And that's kind of how it's always been for me. I think that might be why I'm kind of partially drawn to comics because reading, like I've loved reading for a long time, but there's always just been a little bit of a disconnect for me where I can never see what's going on the page. So a comic being able to fill that in for me has been very wonderful for me. Like the animator for like the Little Mermaid, like he has aphantasia. I found this out from an animator on YouTube where he talked about having aphantasia and realizing like when people say close your eyes and picture this, like that people do that. Like it wasn't just a saying. And like for me, that was like, what? Like people actually close their eyes and visualize things. And I was in a group chat with a lot of other friends and they were all like, you can't see? Like, what are you talking about? And like then like I always get like messages from them randomly nowadays where it's like one of them like will be like, by the way, I'm like rotating a horse in my brain because you can't right now, and like that kind of thing. Where I think it's hilarious. Where, but it is like just true. Or like I can't picture things in my brain, and so I made a comic kind of about like it was. I was thinking a bit about it, like maybe overthinking it, but I wonder if like that kind of memory and like not being able to picture things, if that has anything to do with like how people remember things, being able to process things, like if I were to be able to see things in my head, would I be able to process that easier? Would that be more challenging? And so I was just kind of wrestling with that, where like all of my memories are kind of just vibes for me, where it's like, okay, like it happened, but I can't see what happened. I can't even like hear what happened. I don't have like an inner monologue either. So that's really fun for me, where kind of literally no thoughts head empty. I just think it's a very fascinating topic that hasn't gone into a lot. Like especially like, with a lot of artists who have it. That's been very surprising to me how many artists I've seen who do have it. And I have one friend who theorized like maybe the reason people like artists with aphantasia do well is because they don't have like a mental image to compare to. I don't know if that's entirely the case, but it's just fascinating to me.
Is there any like, and I don't, and maybe you know, maybe you don't. Is there any like long term health issues or concerns that you have to have with this? I mean, I found it again also fascinating and something that I didn't know about because I just assumed we all had those visions in our head and whatnot.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't seen anything that is one way or the other where like
Yeah.
one way of living, if that's healthier, so to speak, than another. I yeah, like I haven't actually seen too much about it. I know like there have been like a lot of artists who have been just successful. I haven't heard any long term or like later on side effects from it. It's just yeah, like it's just I guess like just a weird thing that is like almost like color, like hair, like the color of our hair or something. It's I don't know, like it's a good question though. Like I haven't even like haven't thought about too much. Like I've like looked into it like very briefly, as in like, am I gonna like die immediately because I can't see something in my brain? And like fortunately, like Google was like no on that one. But other than that, I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. I mean, there you go. That's what I've learned. Is I joked at the beginning of this episode or the beginning of this live stream that I was going to learn something. There it is. That's it. And I do find that fascinating. I mean, because I remember I'd say 4 or 5, 6 years ago. I think it was before pandemic. I was listening to NPR and they talked about psilocybin and how that's used to help people with mental health issues. And
Hmm.
I was fascinated by it. For the next several days, all I could do was like Google and read up on it because I thought it was so fascinating how our mind can manipulate itself, and all the kind of inner workings of how that acid, because that's what psilocybin is, it's acid, how that could help cure mental health issues. So this is what it reminded me of, so to speak.
So it's weird. Just like I'll have to look into that myself. you told me something in this one.
All right, well let's talk about, is there any other projects that you have coming that you'd like to just highlight real quick?
Yeah, I know in a couple months I'm really hoping to get done with this comic where it's about um, a trying to think of how to word it. Almost like have like it's like a sci-fi sort of situation in the desert. I was very inspired by Trigun recently and Final Fantasy VII. That those have been really big, like dystopian fiction that I've been reading. But uh, that like I've kind of been inspired by that, where I want to go into. There's a kind of like bodyguard situation where someone is trying to transport a woman who was the president or the wife of the president of like a city slash corporation, and like they have to bring her back and like a battle going on there. Other than that, that's kind of been the biggest thing I've been working on. Maybe perhaps in the meantime, some more guinea pig comics because I just adopted a new boy and I haven't actually done anything with him in drawing. So I'm like really excited to do something with him and how like spunky he is and how much he just loves getting smothered, and like that's the first time I've had that with the guinea pig, so I may go into that a little bit more with like sci-fi. I got really into punk music. Bring Me the Horizon and Bad Omens have been playing on loop pretty much for me, and kind of continuing off of that sci-fi story. That one's like a branch story, so kind of continuing a main story there. I've been having a lot of fun with that, and like a kind of punk band, like kind of fighting against like corruption, like a corrupt government slash like corporation. That's been a lot of fun. But yeah, other than that, kind of anything that comes to mind. I'm hoping to kind of continue this creative journey that I started with this comic and trying to show like some love to myself and creating and just seeing where my journey ends up taking me.
Okay. Well, Fennek, I got one more question for you real quick. If
Lay
you
it
could
on
have,
me.
all right, okay. If you could go back in time and you could have dinner with one famous person, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a really good one. Hmm. For me, it's almost between, I want to say between Virginia Woolf and Osamu Dazai. Both of them very prolific writers. Like their writing styles have been some that I've just resonated with so much. And I've like learned, I've just like their stories have just gripped my heart in a way that I just can't describe. And just with one of them and just hearing like their lives, their struggles, like they both had mental issues, and like constantly hearing them talk about those things would be very interesting. The aftermath of wars and like seeing their countries kind of falling from graces that they thought that they're at the top of the world. Virginia Woolf after World War One and being in England and seeing that kind of collapse of her country, and then Osamu Dazai with Japan after World War II and that kind of conflict going on. Like I think just with one of them, I think that would just be fascinating hearing like where they came, like with their writing, their mental health struggles in their writings, just hearing like kind of what wisdom slash experiences they have. I really found like their writings have been some of the most prolific, almost devastating in some ways, and just be able to meet the person behind like this heartache that they've given me, like without closure almost. I'm like, I want to like hear what you have to say about that.
Okay, well, let's talk about social media website before we plug the crowdfunder one more time. Where can folks find you online?
Yeah, I am on Instagram and Tumblr at Art by Fennek, all one word, Fennek. And then on Blue Sky, it's like artbyfennek.bsky.social. I think it's something like that, but you can find me Art by Fennek. You can usually find me with like a little goblin profile picture. I'm drawing foxes a lot of the time, so be on the lookout for that.
All right, and again, just want to let everybody know that the anthology is coming. It is a fantastic project. I mean it, and you need to check it out. So if you check it out, definitely a donation would be also awesome and also very, very appreciated. Again, we want to get to that $2,000 mark, so everybody from Fennek to Jeremy to Shandu to Sydney to everybody can get some money back in their pockets. Again, $2,000 is the top tier. That would give everybody a page rate of $25. The money is staying here. That's the other thing. It's not going anywhere else. It's staying here in Central Ohio. All right. It's not being parceled out to any other places or any other groups. It's right here with C3. And look, C3 does a lot of great programming throughout the year. So there you go. If you need an extra motivation to plunk down some cash, there you go. The C3 Foundation or organization or collective, whatever you want to call them, C3 does such great work. So again, grab Hidden Histories. It is the anthology for this year. Go over to C3's social media. You'll find links and information there as to where you can get your hands on the anthology. So, Fennek, any last words?
Please do fund the anthology. I decided I'm trying to start a reward system, and you can help me get Reese's cups for my rewards in order to help me to create more. So I think that will be helping with the comic more, where you are going to read about me wanting to create, and in that you're going to see that I'm going to want Reese's cups, and from there you can like help that like prophecy almost like come back to me, and that will be very wonderful. But other than that, like I think everyone's work is so beautiful. Like everyone has done such amazing work in this anthology, really pushed and pushed like their limits. They did their best to want to spread like the word about things in Ohio, about Columbus, this wonderful city, and beyond. And I think that learning something new every day is also a wonderful thing.
There you go. That was really well said. And I'm going to leave it right there. Fennek, thank you for sitting down and chatting with me this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.